I did do a really shit clap though, where my hands weren't actually very well lined up.
Did you give it the old magician jazz hands?
May as well. It's not the kind of jazz hands I like, but hey ho. Right. Does anyone need?
I don't know what the fuck that means.
I don't know what that means. It's like a mic.
Nate's producing like the Ace of Spades out of nowhere with his claps.
Masturbation. Right.
I still see the elf in the chapel. These lucid dreams have me feeling baffled. It's to the point where I'm feeling quite rattled. Is this really real or my mind is unraveled? Who's showing me these scenes? Are they more than just dreams? Am I traveling to this place in my head? I can follow, it seems, then I am hearing screams, and I'm back in the campsite. Once again, an itchy feeling fills my heart with dread. What has happened to the elf? I worry he is dead. And why is this happening to me? I'm seeing things I don't want to see. The adventure continues.
So we are still in the campsite with everyone asleep except for a young half-elf who has, over some of the last few nights, had some strange experiences and some strange visions that have been going on.
It's been so long since we played, I had to stop and go, who's a half-elf?
It's you. No. Dweezil.
Hello.
You are sat in camp. Presumably a little fire or something is crackling away to keep you all warm. You're alone, so to speak. Everyone else is obviously asleep. You're around everyone, but anything you want to do with that final vision that you've received?
I thought I had like a bit of a clue about what was going on, but now I'm suitably baffled and perturbed. Both Stuart and Dweezil, baffled and perturbed. I think what I might do is I might mention it to someone in the morning.
Okay, that's fine. But there's nothing you want to do at night time right now.
Cry?
Apart from perhaps some jazz hands.
By the fire. Jazz hands by the fire. But be very careful because I wouldn't want to dampen the embers.
Okay. You get back to sleep, perhaps a little bit longer. I can't remember where you were in terms of the watch. Perhaps I don't think you would have been last. You wake up the next person, try and get yourself back to sleep. Possibly, as I say, a little bit more difficult than most evenings. As you say, these things are weighing heavy on your mind. You all collectively eventually wake up in the morning, and it's you've been travelling now for a good nearly 10 days, I think, give or take, as a group, and you're fairly aware. The conversation would have turned to this, that realistically, within the next 24 hours, you may find yourself out from the wilderness and back onto the long road, back to some form of civilization. Whilst the road itself might not be per se civilization, it is indeed a sign of it. It is now the morning and everything. You're packing up. Are you going to wait until you're on the road to do something, Dweezil? Or?
Yeah, I think I'll wait until I haven't quite decided who I want to speak to.
Okay, no worries. So you all collectively break down camp, pack everything up. And there's a little bit of a spring in your step, knowing that what you've been through and where you are aiming to be. The day itself passes somewhat uneventfully. A few small thunder showers and few small signs of barbarian fights, not too dissimilar to the one you saw, I think, the day or two beforehand. And eventually you get past the Subran Hills, leaving them in your wake. At some point during the travel today, Harshnag is the first to see the road up ahead, and he passes on the good news to you that the long road is approaching. He estimates that as long as nothing happens between now and then, probably an hour, maybe 2, and you should be on the long road. Sensing that before long, you'll be back in civilization and distracted by tasks, people to speak to, Harshnag decides that now is an appropriate time to revisit a conversation that was alluded to sometime before, and the thread was never pulled on. He approaches Dweezil and says, Dweezil, remember when we first met? We talked of the ordning, yes? You remember that it was discussed.
Yeah, I remember it well.
At that time, you said that you did not believe that the ordning was perhaps a good thing. You suggested that there could be alternatives. My mind has been racing these last few days, trying to work out what you would mean by this, and I meant to talk to you about this sooner, but the moment always escaped me. What are your thoughts on the ordning? What is your suggestion, if anything?
It's more complicated than perhaps you might even imagine, Harshnag. I'll be entirely honest with you. When we first found out about the ordning, the idea of it went against all of my principles and morals, because I was a low-born half-elf, shunned pretty much by the people that I grew up around, and had to find my own way in the world. And I've similarly found myself with other people who were Daboff, low-born, has had to fight for everything he's got in the world, but has risen to be a very an expert adventurer. Quinch came from nothing and is a powerful warrior. Gregomel, a lot of Gregomel's past is a mystery to even him, but Gregomel was a low-born man who was risen to become one of the most powerful sorcerers in all of Faerun. Krill is the only exception to the rule, who was born with every privilege of the son of a great warlord, and has failed to, let's be honest, massively failed to live up to his potential by the those standards. But I've always felt that we live in a world where if a person has great moral character and desire to succeed, that they can do so. When we were first told of the ordning, this idea that doesn't matter if you're a brilliant hill giant, you're still always just going to be a shit giant compared to someone who happens to be born as a stone giant or a fire giant or a cloud giant, just didn't sit right with me. It felt like an archaic class system. And we do still occasionally come up against these kind of things in society. We found ourselves at a pleasure boat quite recently in Yartar, where we were treated with disdain for not being the upper echelons of society. But that doesn't matter. It's just it was just a casino. It was just a pleasure boat. It doesn't have any bearing on grander plans. Whereas the ordning seems to be all about keeping people in the place, keeping the highborn and keeping the lowborn. And it doesn't sit with me. However, lots and lots of things have happened to us in the last couple of months. Things that prophecies, things that have been told to us that would happen, things that have been said which have then come to pass. And it's made me really think about, what's the point? Is it that I am who I am and where I am because of my hard work and my trying, or is it because something has destined me to be here? I was always of the opinion that I was the master of my own destiny, and now I'm not so sure. You know, people have told me that things would happen. The Dabov's death and disappearance was prophesized. I was spoken of in those prophecies by people who we've never even come across before, that seemed to know exactly what was going to happen to us. In which case, it made me think, we're not the masters of our own destiny. We're just playing out some kind of performance. We're just acting out the parts that we've been written to act out. So I'm a part of the ordning. It's a different ordning, but it's the ordning. We're just doing what we have to do because it's all been prophesized and it's all been laid out before us. So, sort of, what's the point, really, Harshnag? That's my main thinking in this now. Like, does it really matter? Like, the ordning is the ordning. Does not matter if I think that it's a bad thing or a good thing, because ultimately what I believe and what I think doesn't really matter, because I am just a playing piece in some kind of game of cosmic chess, whatever chess is. I'm sorry, I know that sounds a bit kind of nihilistic, but as an adventurer spends time on the road, he can be prone to philosophy.
Thank you, Desiree.
Yeah. I don't want to see a ghost. It's the sight that I fear most. I'd rather have a piece of toast. Yeah, so I mean, yeah. Thanks for asking. Thanks for checking in, Harshnag. But that's where I am. But it is a glib response, because I do still ultimately think that the ordning is a bad thing, and that I think that it shouldn't be there. But ultimately, I now am increasingly believing it doesn't matter what I think. I don't matter.
I think that this is a very interesting point, that you say that things do not matter. That whatever will be. That your
future's not ours to see.
Okay, Sarah. You seem to think that you have no choice over what will happen. Is this fair to say?
Yeah.
You think,
for example, I've had this mark on my face since I was born, and in the last,
I had not noticed. You all look the same to me.
Okay. There it is.
All.
I've had this mark on my face since I was born, and recently, during certain events, the mark has started to glow. It's not. It was a birthmark that I was born with, and now all of a sudden, it glows. What is that about? Like, if that's not a sign that something is controlling what is, some malevolent bastard is controlling what happens to us. Perhaps an unseen dickhead.
As DM, who has some part to play, can't help to feel that was a little personal. It is interesting that you speak of children and things that are born in your past that come to be in your present. You say that you do not think that you have a choice, but tell me this, Dweezil. You tell me there is a prophecy that says that Dabov will die, yes?
Yep.
Tell me, why do I see Dabov here now, then, if he is dead?
You see a different Dabov.
I have only met one Dabov. Perhaps his death was needed. Perhaps this new Dabov, if that is indeed what he is, perhaps this is a good thing. But how is he here? Perhaps some choice brought him back? His or someone else's?
Yeah, someone else's, Harshnag. This is exactly what I'm telling you. Some greater power that decided that Dabov had a part to play in whatever it is that they want. Not because it was what Dabov wanted. I guarantee you, if you give Dabov the choice of coming back to spend more time with Quinch or just existing in a fiery plane of desolateness,
Desolation.
desolation.
That's what you need.
He'd have probably chosen the desolation.
It is lucky he cannot hear us in this conversation, because I am not sure whether he would agree. But that is something else. Listen, whilst you say that you do not think that there is a choice, or that perhaps you will do whatever is fated, let me tell you my feelings on the ordering, in case that helps you. It is... Remember, Dweezil, you have a choice. You may not think it, but you do, and that choice is to live this life how you wish. To ensure that you can sleep at night knowing that your choices are those that you want, not what someone else wants. Tell me, on our days together, have I ever told you the story of how I got this dragon skull?
I hadn't even noticed it, to be honest. You all look the same to me.
This is a very fine joke. Well done.
No, you've never told me the story. Sorry, Harsh. Sorry for being facetious, Harshnag.
We are all in... It is your decision and your choice to be facetious, Dweezil. Remember that. How much do you know about the Frost Giants? About our ordering? About what it is that we value most?
You are towards the top end of the giant echelons, and you are thought to be cold, emotionless, and dangerous beings. However, that was what I was led to believe. My only experience of frost giants is with you, and you're not cold and emotionless. You're humorless, but you're all right.
I don't realize that I was human. I will remember to tell some knock-knock jokes tomorrow. But the Frost Giants, their place in the ordering is interesting. Because of this coldness, this emotionlessness, we value being fierce and strong. We value fighting, killing, taking what is ours. So, if a frost giant grows to be big and strong, he will have a good place in the frost giant ordering. Look at me. Look at Harshnag. I am big and strong, but by frost giant standards, I am not. When I was a young boy, I showed some promise, but it never really went any further than that. Boys my age would far exceed me in strength before too long, and I was left behind. By no means a runt. And I said a runt. By no means a runt. I was perhaps middle of the pack. Uninspiring, but certainly not at the bottom. It was always destined that I would probably end up to be a soldier. Just strong enough to protect, but not strong enough to lead. One day, when I was still quite young, still a little scrawny by my peers' comparison, I accidentally got into a war of words with another boy. His name is Storvold. I believe you may have heard me use this name before.
Yeah, I may have.
He was a few years older than me. He was much bigger, much stronger frost giant even at that stage. He did not take kindly to what I was saying to him. Before long, those words turned into a fight. And what do you think happened next, despite this boy being bigger and stronger than me? What do you think happened, Dweezil?
I think you probably put him on his arse, Harshnag.
I wish I could say that is true. Unfortunately, no. He handed me an ass-kicking I did not expect. I was very, very much in pain from the beating that he gave me. But I did not give in. I did not let him win. He won, but I did not let him win. There is a difference. And Storvold knew that difference. He did not like the words I used. However, he looked at me, this young, small boy, staring up at him, and thought, maybe strength is not always in the muscles. Perhaps strength of conviction, strength of spirit, is just as important as the meat on the bones. We became fast friends after that. It is an unlikely partnership, but we were friends, inseparable. I was always smaller, always weaker than Storvold. He was a formidable young man, and it continued to grow. At no point did he stop. It was clear that whatever he ended up doing, it would be something huge and something important. But he always took me with him. There were stronger, more fierce fighters around him at all times. But I was there, looked down upon by his peers. But he enjoyed my counsel. He felt that I offered him something different. Again, the strength, the inner strength that I showed, he found important. When time came, he became a Jarl. Do you know this word, Jarl?
I'm aware of that word, yeah. A chief and a lord.
Yes, he became a lord, a Jarl, and he was given his own army, his own men, his own supplies. He decided that the first thing he wished to do was to reclaim his family ancestral home, Svardborg, a very harsh place, but it meant a lot to him and his family. They had lost it many years ago to various sorts, but he decided it was time for him to return the family to Svardborg. So, with his men, myself included, we stormed Svardborg. We cleared it from various monsters, and it became his home. Once we got to Svardborg, once the reality of being a Jarl sunk in with Storvold, he changed. It's true he was always strong. He always liked to demonstrate his strength around everyone, but suddenly with that additional power, he became crueler. He did not seem to be the same boy who would look down upon me, beaten, and to lift me back up. While we were storming Svardborg, he found some dragon eggs, some white dragon eggs. Eventually, the mother and father returned to Svardborg, and he used the eggs to control the dragons. He used them as a make-weight to ensure that they would not attack, threatened to destroy these eggs. One day, to show his strength, I do not know why, he decided it would be in his interests to send one of the white dragons, the father, to destroy 10 towns, an area of the north that we may come across if we go further. I did not like this. This, to me, was against everything. The relationship between a dragon and giants is a complicated one, but ultimately, we are enemies. For Storvold to be using his enemy to destroy another city, a city of small folk, who, to be honest, Storvold could kill himself if he really wanted to. It did not sit right with me. I talk about the frost giants fighting and killing and taking what they want. But this was massacre. This was intended to show power, not to get anything. I told Storvold just as much. I told him that this was wrong. That if he wanted something from 10 towns, he should go himself and take it. He should send his men and take it. Not to send a dragon to burn. A disgusting dragon. I did not like it. He did not like my words. I have stood up to Storvold in the past. I have told him when I think that he is wrong, and normally he would listen, but with his home and with his title, he no longer needed me. He no longer needed his great friend Harshnag. He needed the other soldiers around him, the stronger soldiers around him, to tell him that what he was doing was right. I did not recognize him anymore. I did not recognize the men that I was surrounded by, and so I left. And there was only one place I needed to go. To 10 towns. I learned that day that strength is important. But what is more important is how we use that strength. It is not to be used to show others how strong we are, but it is to lead and to show how strong they can be. So I went to 10 towns. Unfortunately, I was a little too late. The dragon had started to destroy, but I stepped in, and with this mighty axe, I killed it. A dragon by the name of Shardheart. I wore that dragon skull to this very day. Both to intimidate my foes, to show that I am not afraid even of a dragon, but also a reminder to me that above all else I will show a strength of spirit. Now, why do I tell all of this to you, Dweezil? It is a story I wish to tell my friends, but more importantly, I wish to touch on Storvold. Giants have been alive much longer than you. Myself, I am 800 years old. I am by no means the oldest giant on this land, but a lot of giants are hundreds of years old. They have had hundreds of years of being trapped in the ordning. Storvold is one giant amongst thousands. And if they think that they can get more power, they will do anything to rise. I tell you that I think that the ordning is good, not because I believe in it, not because I think it is good for giants, but because I think it is good for the world. If we have thousands of giants, and do remember, just because Storvold rules those men, with no ordning, those men decide they do not want to be ruled by Storvold. They walk away. They do their own thing, their own cruelty. It is a prison for giants, but sometimes the worst people should be in prison. I fear that if all giant kind is not trapped behind the ordning, this world will be torn apart by our fighting with ourselves and with you. I am just a soldier. I am not a politician. But as far as I can see, the ordning is the best thing that this world has against big, big trouble.
What you're telling me is that in a very kind of long-winded and roundabout way is that we've got no choice and we need to reinstate the ordning.
I am telling you my feelings. If you find something that is better, hey, you go for it, buddy. I am just telling you what giants are like. I am feeling that you have seen some giants like Harshnag, but remember, for every giant like Harshnag, there are 5 more that will kill you without even speaking to you. And you are quite talented warriors. Not everyone in this world can hold a candle to you. The circus is quite impressive.
We are quite impressive, you're right. Yeah. Like I say, Harshnag, I don't know. I don't have any answers. I just feel that it's sometimes you have to do something that you feel is it's the lesser of two evils. If we don't help to find King Hecaton and reimpose what has held the giants together, then giant-kind, dragon-kind, what chain reactions is this going to set off? Because it's not just the giants that, you know, it's like a food chain, isn't it? You know, if the giants aren't behaving themselves, then lots of other things aren't going to behave themselves. So, I don't know.
Exactly, Dweezil. But hey, you don't think that you have any choice, so whatever will be, will be. Anyway, we are getting close to the long rod. I wanted to talk to you about this, but I understand your position, and I understand that we come from 2 different backgrounds. You see the world how you have been brought up. I see the world how the giants have been brought up. Perhaps there is somewhere in between.
It's a shame you didn't have this conversation with Krill, though, because I think he would have really been able to empathise with the bit about, being like a runt of the litter and stuff.
Can I just clarify? Are we asleep? Are we asleep?
Well, he's a half-orc, isn't he? And
is he a small boy?
He's just a little one, isn't he? All like he grew up in a tribe of big boys, like full-blown orcs. I don't know whether you've noticed this. You know, have you noticed that when we camp in the evenings and we take off all our adventuring clothes, that Krill, his height reduces by about 3 inches because he wears lifts in his adventuring boots to make him seem taller?
I had no idea that this happened.
Yeah, it's quite funny. It's quite funny. Watch out for it tonight when we camp. It's quite funny. He even about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Gregomel was affected by wild magic and he grew 2 inches taller. And Krill put an extra inch on his lifts then as well because he got competitive with Gregomel about who's the tallest. It's quite funny. So sometimes when we go into battle, even with the lifts, he stands on his tiptoes to try and make himself seem even more imposing.
He thought we didn't notice him hammering some horseshoes onto the bottom of his shoes.
I will keep a lookout, but you are so small. These things do not appear to me anyway. Anyway, let us join the rest of the group, as it will not be long before we are on the road. On road.
If we ever bump into Storvald, though, we'll get you some lifts in your shoes as well.
Please do.
Yeah.
I would not wish to meet Storvald as small as I am. And with that, you guys rejoin the rest of the group. You're all still, riding on, so to speak, but this is obviously taken place.
Thank you so much for listening to Dice and Desire. If you were...
Hello.
Quint, what are you doing here?
I thought I'd help out with the promo.
No, Quint, no, come on. You're just going to talk about random place names that don't exist.
No, I wasn't. I was going to talk to you about my adventures in Valaquanth, the very best that the Tendering Meadows has to offer.
God, if you have to be here, at least read this out.
Okay, what have we got here? Leave us a review on Apple or Podchaser.
Oh, yeah, it was fine. It's pronounced Apple, but that was fine. Now read this bit.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Just search Dice and Desire.
I'm actually very surprised that was all pronounced correctly. Thanks, Quinch. Thank you guys for listening. Do exactly as Quinch said and help us out in those various ways. And we look forward to sharing another episode with you very soon.
It's a dark and stormy night, and you approach the bar. As the woman turns, she says, "Who are you, adventurers?"
My name's Margaret Battlehammer. Did you want to know more about me than that? I'm a dwarf. Can you tell by my height?
That's right, and I'm Jump Thunder than everyone, lead and rhythm looters to the Justice Loving Friends.
I play drums.
And I'm the lead and rhythm looters to the Justice Loving Friends.
Yeah, you said that already.
What?
It is my honour to be the near sole vocalist of the Justice Loving Friends. I am a grung, fled from my people due to their slaving nature. But my name is Black.
A beautiful story, Black.
And I'm Morik, the Forest Father. I play the pan flute.
Yep.
I'm tall and greeny
Morik just looking down at himself like, I guess I'm quite furry.
The woman looks at you, fully perplexed, and says, "That's great. I only needed your names for the coffee order."
Oh, just put it down under Quest Fantastic.
A D&D actual play podcast.
What a hot mess.